What's going on, bro?
Starting our program this evening. Thank you for the raffle prizes that you've applied for. My first job here is to introduce our first speaker tonight. It's a gentleman that's worked with youth empowerment for a while. He'll tell you more about it. I'd like to introduce H.E.A.L Baker.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So my name is H.E.A.L Baker, and I am an adult youth mentor as well as a facilitating trainer. And when it comes to youth empowerment, how I got involved with Y.E. and the family, first and foremost, I just want to thank Arthur, Gabby, and the rest of the Y.E. family. Since I've been with Youth Empowerment, I'm formerly incarcerated individual, served 29 years on the 26th of life sentence. I've been out 2.5 years. Yeah. And one thing that I want to share this with you guys, that it was a time when I got on my knees and I had this conversation with God. And I said, if you grant me a second chance out in society, I'm going to do the work according to the purpose that you have for me, right? So when it comes to the Y.E. family, I just want to thank all of you guys, man. It's like I grew up never being family orientated, but when it comes to Y.E., man, look, words cannot express the things that I went through, the things that I experienced, the things that I can contribute when it comes to the community, as well as people in society. So I just want to thank you guys, and I thank my Y.E. family for everything that you've done. Art, Gabby, the rest of the family, Trish, thank you. So without further ado, I would like to present the video based on youth empowerment.
My role at Youth Empowerment is to support individuals with lived experience. These are individuals that have been impacted by the justice system or the prison system.
We have 2 tiers of youth programs. Our first tier is our youth who are on juvenile probation. Our second youth program that we have is in the San Diego Unified School District. And our lived experience mentors go into the San Diego Unified School District. And we provide mentorship within groups and also individualized mentorship for the kids.
And the compassion that I have for the children is to give back and to mentor them when it comes to their behavior or certain emotional issues that they may struggle with, as of dealing with those issues in a positive, healthy, and productive way.
Being somebody that has had lived experience, has been able to identify my traumas, being able to learn that about myself has allowed me an amazing opportunity to connect with individuals on levels that far exceed the norm because of the self-reflections.
The high level of support that Youth Empowerment gave me, they gave me therapy, they gave me support, they gave me the resources to step up in life.
I believe that every human being that has overcome incarceration, that has been able to walk out of a cage and still have their sanity, is a phenomenal human being.
Our budget, 90% goes into programming. We need support so we can build capacity within the organization and to have all our structures in place.
Thank you everyone
for being here today. We're at H.E.A.L, honoring empowerment, advocacy, and leadership. The relationships that are in the room, we have the U.S. Attorney's Office, we have some DA, we have some lawyers, we have some public safety, we have county, and we also have the homies here too. So that is a beautiful representation in what community looks like and what should feel like. The vibe coming in today felt great. I feel relaxed. I feel inspired. I feel motivated. I feel encouraged. And I feel motivated to stick to the mission and do everything in our power to help our marginalized communities, our youth, individuals, and families. We're going to get started with the awards. And our first award, H.E.A.L, council member, couldn't be here present, and we're not into giving awards to someone that's not present, so he's not here. But we want to honor him and give him a round of applause for helping healing communities. Our next award, Youth Award, Alexis and his family. So this is the Phoenix Award. So this young man, we known each other, what, about 3 years? Yeah. Clark Middle School, yeah. Right? And so one of the things that stood out to me was there was a graduation, and he wasn't graduating, remember? Yeah, but you were rooting, right? You were like, yeah! And like, and I came up beside you, and I was like, that's a great spirit. He didn't get to graduate with that class, but now he's in high school on his road to graduation. So in that process, he had some struggles and was on probation, and then he was referred to us, and he got off probation successfully. And now he's on a mission to do the right thing. So let's give him a round of applause.
Damn, first thing I want to say is thank you to everybody that came. Like, damn, I want to cry, low-key. Nah, but the first thing I want to say is, like, thank you to Youth Empowerment. Like, they really changed me, like, my mentality, like, everything changed. Like, I've expanded my mind, like, to way more things, like, instead of just thinking about, my homies, like, oh, I need to protect them, I need to do this and that. But not, like, I need to start thinking about myself, too. Like, that's what they showed me. Like, I need to start thinking about myself, like, not just my friends. I need to think about my family too. Like, I need to see what's important. And like, that's what they opened up my mind to. Like, they really showed me a lot of things. Like, and now, like, wait. Oh, but, and now, like, it's just like, I'm on the road to like actually graduating. Like me, I thought like my mindset in 8th grade, 7th grade was like, oh, I'm gonna drop out. Now I'm not gonna do school. I'm gonna drop out. But now, like, I'm in 10th grade, and I'm like, hey, I'm in 10th grade, and I'm like it's possible. Like I could graduate, and I'm like, yeah. And I also just want to like give a shout out to my mentor Eddie. Like I'm not sure if he's here today, but I want to give a shout out to him. Like he really helped me out through a lot. Like he would always like be there for me. He would always like do a lot for me. And even though like he didn't have much, like he would still like give his all to me. And that he's basically one of the people that really did inspire me, because he told me like what he was going through and all that, and I was just like damn, like hearing everybody's stories too, like from youth empowerment, it's just like it got me thinking. I was like they went through worse things than me, and like I'm still thinking like worse. I'm just like what's up with me? And so that's and so that's when I really started changing. And then, well, now like I'm on the road to graduation, like hopefully, no, not hopefully, I know I am, but but yeah, I just want to give a shout out to youth empowerment, and yeah, that's about it. Like
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Who's that?
This is right now.
Oh. So my man, H.E.A.L Baker. And he gave you an introduction of who he is, but this man is so honest and transparent and accountable and holds me accountable, and we hold each other accountable, and we have them straight conversations that need to be had with individuals with lived experience, and we need to have that safe space to do that. And not only credible message individuals with lived experience, systems, communities, like we need to have that conversation, right? When times are rough and you need that support system. So that's what H.E.A.L Baker is all about.
Thanks, bro. First, I give honor to God, you know, because like I said earlier, you know, based on where I came from, how I came up, with a father not wanting me and just me and my mother, you know, growing up in the gang area and being a part of a gang, going to prison for most of my life. And, you know, it was a time where I didn't have no hope. However, like I said, when I got on my knees and I was granted that second chance, my position with youth empowerment is to be here not only for the youth, but adults and people in the community in ways that people wasn't there for me. So that's what I do. Thank you. Thank you.
This is the Empowerment Award for
Our Empowerment Award goes to Executive Director Andrew Blum from the Kroc Institute of Peace and Justice. So we're homies now. Fortunately, through Project Safe Neighborhoods, through the U.S. Attorney's Office, this gentleman was able to come in, do organizational evaluation, and he helped put our structures in place. Then we were able to hire him on for the next 3 years for program evaluation through our BSEC grant. But, however, that's one grant. But he does it all. Wherever we need support in other programs, helping us put our systems in place, that's where Andy Blum comes in place. And he empowers the credible messengers, individuals with lived experience. So let's give a round of applause for Andy Blum.
Thanks. I really do want to thank Arthur, Nikki, Steve, the whole youth empowerment team. This is a really meaningful award for me. I want to thank Andrew Hayden, Cindy Cipriani, Chastity Urias at the U.S. Attorney's Office. They were the ones that had the vision to support youth empowerment and planted the seed of this partnership. The first time I met Arthur and Nikki, we were in the conference room at the U.S. Attorney's Office. It was early COVID. First half of the meeting, I was like, I don't want to get COVID. I don't want to get COVID. Should I be in this conference room? By the end of the meeting, I was like, oh boy, buckle up. This is gonna be a ride with Arthur and Nikki. So, the reason this is so meaningful to me, I spent 20 years of my life working on peace building and violence prevention around the world, and every single thing I've done relies on partnerships. And I know how hard it is to build partnerships. Look at Arthur and me. We could not be more different. I'm a suburban kid that grew up in the Bay Area. I literally work at a university that's up on a hill. But Arthur and his team and myself and my team have worked hard to build this partnership. And it's based on really mutual respect. What Arthur and his team does every day, I'm in awe. I could never do it, but that's okay. I don't need to do it. We can bring what we're good at, what the university can offer to contribute to make sure youth empowerment has more and more impact every day. And you all are part of that too, so thank you all for being here. So for me, the award is not about me, it's about the partnership. And the reason it's so meaningful is that it's Arthur and his team telling me that yes, we actually have built a true, deep, and trusting partnership. And that means the world to me and my team. So let's keep it rolling.
The Leadership Award goes to the San Diego Foundation. Pamela, Cecilia, San Diego Foundation team, can you please come? With foundations and funders, sometimes they could be intimidated, like the reporting and the process and everything that goes to it. Make sure you have all your ducks in a row and your systems in place. The San Diego Foundation, it's a with process. The last Safe Summer meeting that we went to, man, I felt so relieved and I was like, man, this foundation truly believes in the work that we're doing into the community. And that empowered me, and it gave me a sense of this is how it should be. San Diego Foundation, they're great leaders in the community. We appreciate your support. The educational enrichment activities with Summer Level Up, the Safe Summers, the advocacy component with advocating for not just us, for other lived experience organizations. San Diego Foundation is true leaders, and they believe in the work that we do. So let's give it up for the San Diego Foundation.
Thank you so much, Arthur. It's been truly a pleasure working with Arthur, Steve, and the rest of the Youth Empowerment team over the last couple of years. We are so honored to be here today to support the work that you all do, and we couldn't do our work without your dedication and the power and empowerment that you do with the youth in the city. So thank you so much.
So our last award, it's emotional, and he's not with us no longer. A lawyer that passed, I don't know the time frame, but about a month or 3 months. But his passing began in a court of law, right? And so his wife Tiffany was also present there. And he was defending someone that had a murder case, right? A cold case. I found out of his death. I did a training for the Lawyers Club, and I found out through an attorney named Britt. And I was actually looking for him. Found out that he passed. So Stephen G. Klein was my attorney 17 years ago, 17, 18 years ago. I was in a dark place. I was hopeless. I was lost. And I needed an attorney. And I remember seeing his flyer going through the county jail in George Bailey. And I was like, that's my man right there. I need to hire this individual to represent me. I know he had a lot of great established relationship with judges and DAs, and that's something that I truly admire from him. And that's what's represented here today. He advocated for me and was there vigorously. In that process of wheeling and dealing with the judge and the DA, I received a 8-month prison sentence. I didn't even know that existed. But he came out from where they wheel and deal and, okay, we're gonna come up with this deal. And I remember him coming out the courtroom. I was in handcuffs, just waiting for the process. And he came out the room, and I remember this vividly. He was doing this. Duh, 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 duh. So I'm looking at him, so I'm trying to do the same thing, but I'm in handcuffs. So try doing that, right? That's something that I was able to get from him on how to represent clients, participants vigorously in the courts. It's an intense room, a lot of different philosophies and a lot of tension that goes into that process. But no matter what, he was there for his folks 100%. He's not with us today, and I just want everybody to hold on for the applause, but his living wife is. So, Tiffany, can you please come up?
To me? Oh, so down my, oh. Hello. Thank you so much. I met this gentleman and we did the public defender walk, and he had the most beautiful things to say about Steve. And he did die in court. It's okay to say that. He was representing somebody who absolutely should not have been in there. And those are the kind of cases he loved the most, because he wanted always the right thing for all clients, for due process, whatever it was. And he fought like a champion, which actually is an alternative word to advocate. Everybody wants a champion. For me, he was a Super Steve. I don't know if that's the ad you saw, but he used to have a Super Steve ad. It was a Super Steve ad in the jail.
Like, what was the line? I'm the superstar?
I forgot. Well, what was that one? Oh, he said I could say, I'll get your sucker ass out of jail. Followed by a very serious advertisement. That was just to get your attention. I pretty much was with Steve since he practically started practicing law, and he loved it. And when we just had his memorial, time means nothing to me right now, but one of my friends said something, and I still think it applies here with you, is that they said, Steve makes me feel seen and safe. And I think that's how his clients felt. They said, I feel like he's got me, he sees me, he understands me, and he's got my back. He's not just here for a paycheck, he really means it. And he does. And he cared about you. So hopefully he was your superhero. And what's great about Arthur and this whole group is that he's making sure you're seen and you're safe, and he's got you. So thank you so much.
I want to introduce Mr. Clint Lacey. He's been a friend of mine for over 8 to 9 years. He worked for the New York City Police Department, was a commissioner there, then moved on to Washington, D.C., the Department of Youth Rehabilitation and Services. As a system, it's our responsibility to be there for the community. And we all have different philosophies on what that looks like and what that population is. Mr. Clint Lacey has taken that burden of supporting the credible messengers. These are individuals that have been impacted by trauma and the justice system. He recently retired about 2 years ago from the Department of Youth and Rehabilitation Services in Washington, D.C., and has concentrated his focus in supporting credible messengers, individuals with lived experience. Can we give a hand of applause for Mr. Clinton Lacey?
Thank you, Brother Arturo, and I appreciate your kind introduction. The only correction is I didn't retire, right? I resigned. There's a difference, no pension and all of that, but no, really, brother, I appreciate you for having us here. I'm out here with my brother Tone, who you're gonna hear from, and I just wanna thank you and your beautiful family, your wife, Gabby, and your children, and your mom, and the rest of your family, and her parents, and the extended family of credible messengers doing this work. So that's a word that we've come to use, and I could talk about that word a bit, but there's something deeper behind the word, right? Some people may not call themselves credible messengers, but you and Reggie, who I certainly can't forget, and the other brothers and sisters doing this work are the embodiment of what credible messenger really is all about. Representatives of what it's about. What is it about? It's about healing, restoration. It's about support for the most marginalized people in our society who have been most impacted by systems, by the justice system, by other systems of care in our communities, and Black and brown communities which suffer disparities in all areas, from health to education to housing, right? And we know the most devastating impact of mass incarceration in our communities. And so I just want to give great praise to you and all of you who have come together, whether you're doing the direct work or supporting it in some other way, for daring to step outside of the punishment paradigm, to step outside of a failed model that has sought to really just control and punish, but not empower and restore and heal. And that's what this work is all about. That's what brings us together here this evening, a belief, a commitment. So credible messenger work is about public safety. It is about wellness. It is about the ability for our children to play in parks, for our elders to walk the streets without being hit by stray bullets, without being robbed, without being harmed. It's absolutely about that. It's about accountability. But accountability isn't punishment. Accountability isn't a one-way street. Accountability isn't just about punishing or trying to correct someone who has done something illegal. Accountability is a commitment on the part of all of us. We have to hold each other accountable. We need to hold systems accountable. As Arturo said, I was once the deputy commissioner of the probation department, actually, in Washington, D.C. And it was in New York City, and then ultimately became the director of the youth justice system in Washington, D.C. And I myself had not come up in the system. I had never been a probation officer. I had never worked in government. I had been on the other side of the equation, right, as a direct service provider, working with young people at Rikers Island in the 90s, right, working with families and communities that were most impacted, right, by the justice system, that had been most impacted by disparity. But we came to that work in a sort of unexpected, counterintuitive moment when I was recruited to become deputy commissioner. We came to that work with a question in mind, with an idea. I was speaking to the former leader of the U.S. Attorney's Office. And the idea was, and another person who I talked to, and we joked about, I won't say who they were, but we joked about considering ourselves infiltrators of the system. That we came on the inside, but we came on the inside with a different idea. Not the idea to continue to perpetuate the same paradigm, right? The same failed practices, but to try to figure out how could we use a position of power, of great authority, right? Of great resource, not to control and monitor and correct communities, but to invest in the capacity building of the community. I've heard the saying that it takes a village to raise a child. I never heard it said that it takes a probation department to raise a child, or that it takes a prison, right? Or that it takes, right, the law enforcement establishment. Now, the law enforcement establishment has its place in our society, but even police chiefs and judges and others will tell you, we're not going to arrest our way out of this situation that we're facing. We're not going to adjudicate our way out. We're not going to jail our way out of it. We're not going to supervise our way out of it. We're going to have to invest in and build community where people live. We're going to have to invest in the leaders in the community. And who are the leaders that we're here to talk about? Who are the leaders that Arturo's work and the work of youth empowerment are talking about? Where they're folks that we have come to call credible messengers, those who have shared life experiences, those who have suffered incarceration, those who have reached the depths of our society in terms of the various suffering in our communities, and have in many instances been part of self-destructive and community-destructive behavior, but those who have been healed and restored and who have made a commitment to be healers, to be teachers, to be guides, to be mentors, and to reach young people in a unique way that nobody else can, and to reach families. And those are credible messengers. Some call themselves peace warriors. Some call themselves community mentors. The name really doesn't matter, but it's the essence of the work that brings everybody together tonight. We're guided by a principle that we rarely hear uttered in the halls of justice or in conversations about public safety or violence prevention. And that's what I call the L word. Dr. Martin Luther King said that true justice is an act of love and public policy. So when I became director of DC System, we raised the question, what does love look like in justice? How can it become more than just a word? How can it become more than just a sentiment? How can love be translated into actual policy? Policy in our systems. How can it be translated into the practice of how people are treated? How can it be translated into the experience of the most marginalized and impacted people? That is the question that we're here to ask, but that is the question which credible messengers are answering every day. And so our work has been focused on investing in the most marginalized communities. When we got to probation in 2012, we implemented an initiative called transformative mentoring, and it was then that we started using this terminology, credible messenger. We didn't create credible messenger. We tapped into a legacy and a history of work. System impacted people have been leading work for wherever there are marginalized people, there have been credible messengers stepping up historically, right? Malcolm X was a credible messenger. He reached the depths of society, right? Drug dealing, as a pimp, armed robbery, went to prison. In prison, they called him Black Satan. He renounced God. He cursed out God. He was evil. He was hateful, right? He was thrown away by society. But Malcolm X, if we look at his story, he had suffered great oppression, right? He was born into oppression. His father was murdered. His mother was institutionalized. His family was split apart. I talk about Malcolm as an example of the oppression that our communities have suffered. This is not to make an excuse for anybody. This is to put into context what has happened in our communities. And so what are we going to do about it then? Are we going to simply look at our communities as places and sources of pathology that need to be controlled and corrected? Or can we see beyond that and know that inside of those very communities are solutions, are leaders, are people who we've traditionally thrown away and left out of the conversation, but without whom we cannot be successful in raising our children and addressing violence and empowering our communities. And so that's what credible messenger work is all about. So when we got to probation and I had come into the system and we were trying to figure out how could we use that position, such a powerful position with the authority to arrest people, to have people incarcerated, et cetera. How could we use that to actually empower? How could we change the value system from thinking that a violation of probation was a victory, right? That it was celebrated. We caught him. His urine was dirty. He committed another crime. We got him. How could we switch that mentality to say that a violation was a failure? That the role of the probation was not to monitor people and catch people when they did wrong, but it was to be that barrier to any further penetration into the system. That success would be defined by our ability to invest in people's empowerment, to connect them to supports and services, to make sure that this was the last stop on the justice train, and they could go back to their communities to be mothers and fathers and teachers and leaders that they have proven that they can be. So we invested in the community and put 20 grants in the community throughout New York City and funded organizations to hire credible messengers. And we didn't just like post an RFP and wait to see who had the greatest capacity to write a nice proposal. We went into the community, we went into churches, into community centers, into neighborhoods where nobody wanted to go, and reached out and networking with our brothers and sisters, with credible messengers themselves. And we talked to people and we got their insight, and they helped inform us in our formation of an RFP that we ultimately issued. And then we awarded grants to organizations who had never received a grant before. People who were on the ground giving their blood, sweat, and tears to this work, but couldn't compete with large organizations, didn't have the capacity to write a winning proposal to receive the funding, right? Because it was so important to us that we reached the ground, that we reached the people who were closest to the problems, but who had the greatest solutions, who had the closest relationships, who had the greatest amount of influence to help promote healing and restoration and a new sense of purpose and hope in themselves and in their loved ones and in their communities. That's who credible messengers are. That's who they were. And that's what happened in New York City. And as a result of that initiative, in 2016, the Urban Institute did a study that showed that there had been a 60% reduction in recidivism. Now, behind that was an amazing statistic, right? And so even at a high level of authority inside of that department, it was still a struggle, right? Even our procurement department, our legal department, right? It was a struggle to launch this initiative, right? But after we achieved that great statistic, we started to get more buy-in from the system. They started to see that, well, okay, actually maybe Lacey and them aren't crazy, right? Maybe our thinking has been wrong. Maybe there is value in the places that we see only as sources of crime and suffering and pathology. Maybe in those communities are people, are experts, are leaders who can actually help to transform the communities that are suffering the most, right? that are feeding the probation department, that are feeding mass incarceration. And so in 2015, but behind that statistic, I want to say, as amazing as that was, and as much as we like to celebrate it, behind it was, I think, an even greater achievement, right? And that was the demonstration of the viability and effectiveness of investing in the village, of investing in people who today can't even volunteer in your average mentoring program because they have a felony record, right? Who have been locked out, not just deprived and suffering collateral consequences, right, in terms of housing and education, right, but who have not been seen as those with solutions. So we flipped that on its head and showed that, in fact, in those communities, in fact, in the people who we had once thrown away, who we had given up on, that those were, among those people were the leaders, were the healers who could help us transform lives. And not just the lives of our most troubled young people, but also help transform systems, help change culture, help change our thinking about what actually works to make communities safe, what actually works to help bring hope and possibility and achievement in our communities among people who we've seen the most suffering. In 2015, I went to DC and I became the director of DC system. And there we continued to expand the work. And we infused credible messengers, not just in the community to serve young people, right? But we put them inside of the detention center, right? And the post-dispositional youth correctional facility to help change the culture of those places, right? To help make sure that in the instance when a young person was there, right, that they would receive the care, the love, not just of a well-trained probation officer. Yeah, we want that. We want well-trained, good people who love kids, who love people in those jobs, yes, of course. But it was also important to bring community into the mix, into the space. And so we were able to bring credible messengers inside. And my brother Tone is here, to this day, continues to lead a team of credible messengers in Washington, D.C. But we also infuse credible messengers into the machine of our department. So if in New York, when we had great success by referring our 16 to 24-year-olds to credible messenger services, individual transformative mentoring relationships and group activities, which proved to be very successful, I still consider New York to be a sort of case of the department dating credible messengers, right? We dated. Some of those relationships turned into marriages. Some didn't work, right? In DC, we decided we weren't going to take a dating approach. We decided we were going to take an arranged marriage approach. So we literally and figuratively moved credible messengers into our machine. So now our probation officers had credible messengers at the table. Everybody with a caseload now had credible messengers in the mix, right, to help support our young people. So I want to say that credible messenger isn't like a program, another program or another thing to do. It is a layer of support from community members who can engage our young people and our families, form trusting relationships, help them develop plans for success, and then co-navigate those plans over time. That's what credible messengers are. Now, you hear the word a lot, and for some people, it's reduced to scared straight, right? You put the bad kids in the room with the OGs, and they scare them and tell them what they would do to them if in jail. You know, that scared straight garbage. That's not what credible messenger is. For some people think credible messenger is only reduced to violence interruption on the street, which is important work, peacemaking and mediation. But it's that and much more. It's peacemaking, it's mediation, but it's long-term care and support and co-navigation, not just to exit the criminal justice system, but to be productive in life. So when we look at Arturo and Reggie and many of the brothers and sisters in the room doing this work, that's what they're doing. When you hear the word credible messenger, we're talking about an investment in the village to build the capacity of the leaders that we need to help do the work of wellness, of healing, of restoration, of public safety. That's the role of credible messengers, and that's why we're so excited to have the opportunity to support their work. So in 2021, I resigned my position in DC, and we launched the Credible Messenger Mentoring Movement. And we launched it really inspired by a meeting that we had in 2018 with Arturo and Reggie and others came, and 300 people from around the country came. Many of the leaders nationally in this work, Nane Alejandres and from Santa Cruz, and Albino Garcia from New Mexico, and James Bell from the Burns Institute, and Alfonso Wyatt from New York City, and a number of other leaders came together of different names, of different ethnicities, from different regions, but united around this idea that the answer is in the community. And so on the heels of that meeting in 2018, we started planning for ultimately to launch the organization that we launched called CM3. And we had the honor to continue to work with Arturo and Reggie and others and help provide training and support and a framework and curriculum and structure and resources to something that is really very serious. Like, this is not the flavor of the month. This is not a fad. This is an example of finally real collaboration, real partnership between systems and institutions of power and leaders in the community who we need to be part on equal basis, right? Not in a token sense, but in a true sense, empowered to do the work that credible messengers are doing now. And so we launched CM3 to support that work, and we're honored to be in partnership with Youth Empowerment, to learn from them, to share the lessons that we've learned, and continue to spread this work. And so we're just so grateful that we had the opportunity to be here. Last thing I will say before I pass the mic to my brother is that I know that there are serious challenges here in San Diego. I've had the opportunity to visit here and had some understanding of what's been happening going back some years now. And the challenges, of course, that are being faced here, we know they're being faced nationally, but they're real, right? And even the fact that we're here together celebrating tonight, we know that on Monday, we go back to some serious issues, right? Some silos, some bureaucracies, some challenges on how this is all gonna work together. But the fact that we are here, the fact that we can unite around this organization and around this work and around this idea that the community has solutions and is worthy of our partnership and investment, the fact that we can do that gives us great hope, a great belief and the possibility for San Diego to continue to be a leader in this work and to help show the country and the world what's possible. And that's being led by Youth Empowerment. Thank you.
Thank you. How y'all feeling? How y'all feeling? This is a community effort. We're here as unity, right? We come together. We're colliding. We're colliding and uniting together to empower each other, to empower our community, to empower our people. I had the honor and the privilege to be able to introduce somebody that is a leader in the Credible Messenger movement, but I would have the lovely honor and privilege to be able to introduce Antonio Fernandez, Mr. King Tone. It's an honor.
What's up? What's up? Everybody good? So I'm here to speak on behalf of Arturo and a lot of credible messengers that are struggling in this field to gain your acceptance. So a lot of people tell me when they meet me, King Tone, what made you change? King Tone, what makes you a credible messenger? King Tone, what are you doing out there that brings change? And everybody that's in this field, when they meet someone like myself who has a past in the penitentiary, think they got the right to question my title. I don't go, Mr. Lacey, why you a director? What made you decide that you were going to change your life and become a director? You don't ask those questions of them people because you see them as your peers that made it without the rut of getting touched by the justice system. And once you're touched by the system, you're not accepted again. You're an immigrant in your own country. Take your voting rights. They remove you from your family. And then they ask you, why don't you change? So I'm here to tell you that credible messengers not only changed, they're not only telling stories in the street, but they're the owners of these nonprofits, these corporations. We're not only no longer, we're the coordinators, the directors. We're starting to match the titles that we need to do with education, so we can't burn the system, but we could replace bad workers, bad leaders, bad people who don't understand how to change the system for the better of the community. So if you won't do the job, I got somebody who will. Right? So you see us as a threat first. Or what are they doing in the system? How could we let them in here? Don't you know King Tone ran the biggest gang in America at one time? Yes, I did. And what I did when that gang accepted me, when church didn't, family didn't, because I took the stain of a gang member, of an addict. And then when I went in to pay my consequence for my sin, when I came back, they said, you paid, but you still got to tell everybody that you're a felon. In America, you don't pay for the crime. You carry it till you die. So how do we open doors? How do we get jobs? How do we get accepted after we do 23 years and we change in jail? But society didn't change. They asked us if we changed. Have you changed? Can you see me as a new man? Can you see that I got my college education in jail? Can you see now that I want to transform the whole gang, not just one of them? So America, listen. We're asking a lot from our young adults in a real hard time. Laws and regulations is harder on our black and Latino youth and poor youth of any color than there ever been. We don't got time to talk to our children. So who do we give this job to when everybody else is too busy to do it? There's this workforce that comes home. We got tattoos, we got scars, we got trauma. But guess what happened? When we were in jail, we didn't take the consequence and the time as a punishment. We took it a time to rebuild ourselves, find ourselves, educate ourselves, and come home with a purpose. I came home 2009. 2015, I opened Grow Up, Grow Out, which is a program that helps young adults face the street with a big brother, with a life coach. I get credible messengers to learn how to work within the system in the jails and not be an advocate for challenge, but an advocate for change. So don't go into jail challenging every CEO, every case manager, but winning them over to the way that you knew that was effective if they talked to you that way when you were in that seat. And then we take them in and we give them boot camps, 5 days of extensive trainings. Then we do a year follow-up. Then we do everything that's needed to empower the credible messenger to be 10% smarter than the problem, stronger than the problem. As we educate and build the credible messenger, he helps the young adult, and we build the community with two of the most important aspects that we've neglected: the returning citizen and the youth we want to save. And let me tell you why. If I would have left jail angry and not believing that God, community, and family was going to give me a chance, I would have came home and I would have recruited a lot more Latin kings. If you didn't give me a chance, if Lacey didn't exist, I would have went back to the cartel and tell them, give me that package. I'm about to blow up. Because why? I went to Kentucky Fried Chicken. I went to Walmart. I walked in. I was happy. They gave me a schedule. They said, you're on. I did the whole Walmart thing. Hey, team, hey, team. They all loved me. I got my schedule. I went at night. and I went to report to my job in Walmart. And when I got in there was a manager and said, "Who are you?" And I said, I just started. I'm Antonio Fernandez. I went through the process. He said, "Yeah, sorry, but we can't hire you." And I was really confused, and I just came home, and I was like, Walmart could take me. I could stock shelves. I know how to dress to impress. I know how to do a resume. I did 20 years. Walmart wouldn't take me once they found out that I was King Tone. I went to Kentucky Fried Chicken. They wouldn't take me because I was King Tone. And I kept going and going for 4 years. And nobody would hire me. I said, fuck that, I'm gonna open a business. It's gonna be called Grow Up, Grow Out. I wrote it in the shoe for 3 years while you kept me without mail, visits, and nobody could talk to me. God talked to me. He said, write the plan, how you're gonna change your life, and then go out there and share it with people. That you don't destroy the unity, you don't destroy the community, you build in it. So I don't wanna save one gang member, I wanna save them all. I don't wanna go into the jail to become a messenger for a system that's broken. I'm going in there to remind the child the system is broken. You got a consequence to pay, but you got a big brother to teach you you can make it through this too. Because there's a light at the end of this tunnel. There's a light. Why? Because I was there with you. I know what it is to get demands and not get the resources to meet them. I know what's to get to Center NA, but not a token to get on the train. So what we did is we involved the community to empower itself, like Lacey said, with the monies of these great probation systems to invest in people like me, to get an education, to get my mental health certificate, to do violence interruption, to do restorative justice. And then when I go into my community, I'm a healer. I'm a voice for me to take a kid to mental health. I'm the guy who could take him to drug rehabilitation. I'm the guy who could get him to the court to be there for his case on time. I'm the guy when you have to go back home that lives in the hood who could go see him when he's at his most vulnerable moment in his life. I help him. So Credible Messengers is just an extension of your arm of justice to help the community. That's all we are. We're the person who could take your message there. And we take it with love, respect, and honesty. We take it with explaining that you're not the enemy. That most of the people that work in this justice department look like me, talk like me, and black like me, Puerto Rican like me. So why are we calling them the enemy? All we need is to unite our message, understand each of our roles in the community, and accept change. Accept the King Tone after he's been serving the community 20 years without a felony and going to jail, owning 6 major grants from United Way and everybody. Could I finally come in and say I'm the director and owner of Grow Up, Grow Out, and I don't have to tell you that I did time in jail? That I could come up here and describe my life, my whole situation without having to start it. Well, you know, I did time and I came here. I don't want to say that part of my life no more. It's gone 20 years ago. I'm a business owner. I'm a person who serves the community. So if I had to say anything to close this is, we always need a co-signer. Like if Lacey walks in to any big foundation with his title and prestige, he gets us the money we need. He was part of the system. He could learn. He worked with $2 million. He knows big budgets. He knows how to write the RFPs. But let me and Arturo walk in the room. With 15 years experience, we've done the work really hard. Our nonprofit and profits are legit. Never went AWOL on taxes. We do it real well. But we need a co-signer. You still don't trust me with your $1 million. I need to bring Lacey. And then Lacey goes, yo, you know King Tone could do this. And he's my national trainer. And he knows the work. And then somebody trusts me in Arturo to do the work. So today, how about if when you see a King Tone on Arturo, a credible messenger that's no longer in the street level, but in the ownership and running the program and looking for grants and money, that you stop demanding that we bring a co-signer. That you see the work I did, the 60% that didn't go back. See how I got men in jail from 7 in the morning to 10 o'clock at night, duplicating the system without being the system. Where they could go back to the community and say, no, New Beginnings, those CEOs and the people taking care of the kids, they're doing good. They get them in programs, they're going, when they're doing bad, hey, community, we got to go see New Beginnings. They're being abusive. And I ended with this. Oppression leads to aggression that leads to violence. Don't heal the violence. Heal the oppression. Fix that. You know what happens when you do that? The aggression goes down. You fed them. You housed them. You loved them. You listened. You resolved all those things that the system usually don't want to resolve real quick. Then you see the kid will sit on that table like that young man did. He'll eat with you, and he'll look up one day when all the oppression is gone. He'll look at me and he'll go, Tone, what you said about that damn GED? I said, yeah, I told you that 3 months ago. You just heard me? He goes, yeah, I'm full, I'm warm, and I got 6 credible messenger big brothers. I think I'm ready for school now. Oppression gets relieved, aggression in the kid goes down, and then we could do the great job that we do to teach. You could only teach when you relieve the oppression. When you try to cure violence, it happened, you got to learn them how to go to jail. So please listen to me. Take time to listen to the oppression. Take time to resolve it. Take time to see him lose and finally relax. Then heal, then talk, then give him programs, then do all the things you could do. But I'm telling you, if you don't help me to get out of my own mental depression, physical depression, mental depression, I can never truly be free. So the greatest credible messenger helps me and kids learn to make better choices. That's it. God gave me the right to make a choice. And we got to teach our kids, stop selling choices for a bowl of soup. It's a freedom God gave you. A freedom to live, to be free, and to be prosperous. And if you believe in Arturo and people like me, we could help you save the generation that we destroyed with our behaviors. Thank you.
Thank you, Antonio Fernandez. We're coming to an end. This story that I'm about to tell you, it's the first time that I'm telling it, I'm expressing it. It's my healing journey. A year ago, before I get to that, the 23 years of the system-induced trauma, the inhumane isolation, torture, everything that I everything that I experienced in prison was nothing compared to this catastrophic event that I experienced a year ago. I had 2 family members, immediate family, gunned down. One almost died. The other one went to the hospital, came out the next day. I was in a dark place at that moment. the old feelings of anger, resentment, fear were traveling through my thought process, my mind, my heart, my feelings. As a dad, you always want to protect your family. I was lost. I was confused. But our family, we went through this healing journey together. They found 3 kids, juveniles. They went into the institutions. Our program is inside the institutions and out in the community working with the juvenile population. One of our mentors connects with this individual, and he comes up to me and tells me, "What do I do?" You need to mentor this individual to the best of your ability. That's what you need to do. I've been an offender most of my life. I know what it feels like to be a victim as well. I went to the courts. In my victim impact statement, I remember looking at this kid in the eyes and telling him, I know all the causative factors that contributed to your behaviors. I forgive you. That was hard. I forgive you. Why do I forgive you? Because I truly believe in this mission. This ain't no joke in the work that we do. And when it affects your family, then you get a true perspective of the hurt and the pain that goes through that. But this is what I believe. Why? Because I was that kid before. And I want to do everything in my power, no matter what, to help that kid heal, to understand the impacts of trauma that he's experienced, bring healing, restoration, so he doesn't do that again and impacts another family. This is part of my healing journey. Fortunately, we've been able to access resources because, why? Because we're aware. But what about the other families that aren't aware, that aren't able to access resources? That's my personal journey. That's our family, our healing. We're moving forward. I'm really good at masking feelings. It's the first time I speak on it. For me, it's a sense of healing, expressing it. Our family's gonna make a comeback. This is the population that youth empowerment serves. Marginalized communities that have been impacted by all the traumas above. The system-induced trauma, the complex trauma, the chronic, the generational trauma, youth empowerment. These are the families that we serve. Two weeks ago, Market, Winona, Encano, my mother's friend, next door neighbor, brother comes, kills the mother, kills the dogs, kills the birds. SWAT team comes, other brother comes. The individual that's in the house has an AK-47, tries to shoot the other brother. Police department throws fire grenades, right? There's a threat, I get it. The police department end up killing him. At the end of the day, mom is gone, dogs are gone, birds are gone, and brother's gone. My mother's next door neighbor. She calls me up, like, what are we gonna do about this? My mom, she's my role model. She's a founder of a nonprofit. I follow her way, I follow her paths. After many years of struggles, after many years of her coming and visiting me, supporting me, being part of my process, that accountability component, like, what are we gonna do for this family? I got a truck. Went over there, 2 truckloads. The debris, the dirt, helped family out. These are just examples of the work that we do in the community. All the youth, all the adults that we serve, the impacts that we've made this year with the help of the San Diego Foundation, the San Diego Unified School District, probation, county, the adult reentry, the Board of State Community Corrections. We were able to serve over 1,000 individuals. We were able to make an impact with these families and be there for them when nobody would. This work ain't for everybody. And that's what Credible Messengers is. We bring hope, we bring healing to these youth, individuals, and families. Today, I'm challenging everybody to support the mission. How can you support the mission? You can support the mission financially. I can't do this work alone. We're looking to extend our board. We're looking to recruit individuals, board members that are going to help bring in resources so we could help heal communities. I don't have time for games. This work is real for me. I don't know if it's as real for you, but for me, it is. help us support this mission. Help us serve these families. I've done many harm within the community. Now I do good. I contribute. I give. I serve my time. I want to thank all the sponsors, H.E.A.L and Fun for being our mission sponsor, the Elevate Youth for helping us assist put this event together, all our table sponsors, Kira Richards, you're the bomb. Racial Equity Office, Aetna, the San Diego Foundation, and I know what I said is kind of heavy and it's kind of deep, and we're here for a good time, right? And I want everybody to have a good time and to continue this good time, but I want to end it on this note. To help us support the mission, financial, time, assistance, grants, foundations, whatever that may look like. So I want to thank everyone that's here. We got this place till 12 o'clock, so we're cool, right? Okay, yes, okay. Ms. Tricia's gonna do the pledge drive, but thank you guys for your time, and I appreciate everyone, and thank you for everything.